Okay. Hey everyone, we're going to get started. I'm Lisa Nichols. I'm a transformation coach for women in business. My glasses are really glary today. They're so glary, they look like out of focus. So I'm just going to push my button maybe one more time and hopefully get in focus. No, that's worse. All right. Okay. There, that's better. Okay. Yay. All right. Today's topic is opening ourselves to receiving more. And I'm going to walk through why it's hard for us to receive and what happens when we're closed off from receiving. We'll work on becoming more willing to receive. So the first thing I want to do is an exercise to open up the sacral chakra. So this is going to be our first thing to open up to more receiving. We're going to do a little exercise because the sacral chakra, it's all about the second one. It's just between your belly button and your pelvic bone. And it's all around human relations, giving and receiving, sexual and passionate love, as well as and especially creativity. So when we are able to channel this higher energy, it fuels our creative force. And that's what allows us to put our creativity out into the world, whether it's painting a picture or building a business or whatever it is. So we're going to open up our sacral chakra right now. So hopefully, Michelle, you can do this if you're at work. But so the first thing is just rock your low back and your belly forward and backward just a few times, just gently. Just kind of like saying hello, hi, sacral chakra. And now put your hands on your belly, on that sacral chakra, and just visualize orange energy. Orange is the color of this second chakra. And just visualize orange emanating out from the sacrum and your hips and your pubic bone. So that whole lower belly, just lots and lots of orange. And then take 3 slow breaths as you silently repeat this affirmation. I am present. I open to receive all the goodness that surrounds me. I listen to my inner truth. Isn't that what it's about? Listening to our inner truth, being able to forestall the noise of the world and go within and know what is truth for us, what works for us. So I wanted to start with that exercise so that you're open and ready to receive the information from today. And we're going to just start with the whole thing around better to be a giver than a receiver. So we've all heard that. And it's almost as if being a giver is virtuous, and we should at all times be a giver. And we've we learned that from our earliest age when we were 2 or 3 and we wanted to grab our toy from our friend's a toy from our friend's hand, and we're told share, 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 share. We're not even explained to why we should share. And I don't know if you've seen this out in parenting circles, but I've seen it where some parenting experts say, don't teach them to share. And why is that? It's because at 2 and 3, we really don't have the brain process of being able to understand what sharing means. It means nothing to us. We just know that someone has what we have, what we want. And people are stopping us from getting us, and they're not teaching us how to manage the emotions of frustration and disappointment and anger, nor how to ask. A lot of times parents just say, you need to share, you need to share. They don't say, listen, what if this kid uses the toy now and you get to use it in 2 minutes? Can you wait 2 minutes? There's no to us, it's so obvious that we need to share that we have a hard time understanding it from the standpoint of the child, that they don't get it. They don't know what share means, and they can't really, based on the development of their brain. So this is how far back the whole thing of giving others what they want rather than what you want goes back to. That's how far back it goes. And so again, and it's necessary. We all need to be socialized. We all need to live in a community. And so we all need to learn what it is to give and take and compromise and be of giving heart. But it's almost like we forget that there's two sides of giving and receiving, and that receiving is just as necessary in this circulation of everything that goes on in the world, everything from love and compassion and joy and empathy to material goods. If one person is giving, there needs to be somebody who is receiving. And so there are certain things that happen. Hi, Laura, nice to have you here. So we just started talking about why we aren't open to receiving, and that it starts at a very young age. So again, we're kind of raised to believe that giving is this good altruistic thing with lots of virtues, and receiving just gets no attention whatsoever. It's not even explained to us, that we're worthy of having what we desire and receiving, but B, that it's part of the whole process of circulation. So there's many universal laws. I'm sure you guys have heard of the law law of attraction, that says what you put your attention on is what you'll attract into your life. But there are many, many more universal laws like that. And one is the law of circulation, which is that which you put out will come back to you. And unless you're closed down from being able to accept that goodness that comes back into your life based on the good that you're receiving. And the law of circulation also has this other little bit, which is what you receive is it doesn't necessarily come from who you give to, if that makes sense. And to me, I've been thinking about that a lot in my business, because when I'm putting out lots of free information or free advice or free whatever, or I'm helping this person over here, that's not necessarily who my client's going to be. But because it's a universal law that what comes around goes around, that good that I put out into the universe will come back to me in myriad of ways, but it may not be in the way where I'm actually giving to. So let's talk about. Let me see. I just want to make sure I said what I want to say. Just we encourage people to give, but it's not wrong or less good to receive. And I think that's one of the first things that we need to accept and believe in, is that it's not wrong to receive. It's not any less virtuous. It's just part of the cycle. And in fact, it's something that we need to be at our best, to be as productive as we want to be as successful as we want to be. Because if we're closed off from receiving, then we are not getting the information and the knowledge and the advice and the opportunities, referrals, ideas, all of that stuff that we need to work at a high level. And so if you think about, our culture very much is DIY. very much, and replenishment. Thank you. Yes. And our culture is very DIY, like soldier through, get it done. When if you think about what does that close you off from? How much easier would it be if you had the information that you learned the hard way by doing it yourself? How much easier would your life be if you were able to be open to the all the things that are coming to you and for you, but you don't even know it because you're closed off from receiving it because for whatever many reasons. So let's go through some of the reasons why we have difficulty receiving. This one may surprise you, but part of it is a defense against intimacy. When you have to receive something from somebody, you're connected to them. And receiving creates connection. Like people love to give, don't they? People like look at with the football player that had the heart attack or the actually cardiac arrest on the football field. And oh my gosh, the outpouring of support and help that came because people love to help other people. And so it creates that connection. And honestly, when you allow someone to give to you, they will be more, sorry about that.
Someone is at the front door.
Thank you, Alex. They will feel connected to you. You will have that personal connection. And you may not even remember it later that they gave you something. So you may not, like, I know sometimes I'm always like, why does this person feel so close to me? And it's because there was some kind of give and take in that relationship. Maybe I've forgotten about. But when you give to somebody, you give them a little bit of your heart, you give them a little bit of yourself. And so you're going to make that connection with them. And so later, when you need support or when they need support, you're the one they're going to think of. So if you think about that with your clients, if you're in business, especially when you create connection, they're going to be those are going to be the people who are going to be your advocates and your biggest cheerleaders, or the people who feel connected to you. And so when you give and you allow them to give to you, you create that connection and that intimacy. So think about where in your life you put up some walls to intimacy and why you might be closing off to being able to receive. So, one second reason, and this is a big one, is letting go of control. When we give, it's in our control. And when we give, we get to kind of be like the bigger person. And when we receive, it makes us a little vulnerable. We can feel vulnerable from receiving. We can feel like we owe someone something, like there's strings attached, or even if we just assume there's strings attached, and there's actually none, but we just make it up. Oh, they gave me something, I need to return something, I need to give something in return. That is actually, it's kind of a control issue. You want to give at the level that you want to give, and you want to give what you want to give, not what other people expect you to give. And so it's easy, like, to say, oh, I love your hair, it's such a great haircut, I love your shirt. But when someone goes, man, your makeup looks great today, we're always like, first of all, we're taken aback a little bit, right? And then we're like, okay, what do they want from me? What do I need to give in return? It kind of stops us in our tracks, like, what's going on? We're a little distrustful, and it in part because it takes us out of our control. our sense of being in control. And part of that control is our image, our image out into the world. We want people to think that we're strong, that we are in control, that we don't really need anything. We don't want to be seen as needy. And so we step back from that willingness to receive. Again, receiving opens up just a little like vulnerability. We have to kind of open up our heart a little bit to be willing to truly receive what someone gives us. And if we're not comfortable being vulnerable, if we're not comfortable opening ourselves up a little bit, that it shakes our sense of control. And so we'll just go, oh, yeah, this whole thing, or oh, yeah, I actually did makeup today, instead of just saying, thank you. Wow, that's so sweet. Thank you. And that's really all that's required when somebody does something for you. It's just that open-hearted and sincere thank you, that note of appreciation. But I got presents this year, Christmas presents this year from people who I didn't get presents for. And I just sent them a note. I just said, thank you so much for this present. That was such a sweet surprise. And most people don't write thank you notes. So I'm sure even just getting a thank you note made them feel, like that their action was appreciated. And that's all that they need. They don't need me to run around and buy a gift and give it to them. They just need to know that it was appreciated. So I kind of scrunched a whole bunch of different reasons into that long talk right there, like letting go of control, fear of having strings attached, etc. So let's just talk about that just a little bit more. Sometimes that happens. We have strings attached because we may have had parents who were self-centered or narcissistic, or just so caught up in their own wounds that they hadn't done their own healing. And so we may have been kind of wounded or even traumatized in our youth by having other people think everything's all about them. And so we may, when we give, we don't expect anything in return. We just expect other people to think it's all about them. And so that was just it's this imbalance in the relationship, in what, who is allowed to give and who is allowed to receive. And it could have been parents, it could have been an initial romantic relationship or anything like that, where there was an imbalance where you were the giver and the giver and the giver, and you were never taught that it's okay to receive, that you are deserving and worthy, and you have a right to receive. I know a good friend of mine had mental illness in the family and a very narcissistic sibling. So not just on her parents' side, but also a sibling. And she was probably 40 years old before she realized that she never received. She was never open and allowed to receive because she was always trying to make everyone else happy, always on eggshells, always trying to make sure that the mom didn't go down a mental health rabbit hole, or that her narcissistic sister wouldn't go nuts on her, And so if we, I just kind of like, if you think of like a relationships maybe where that balance is off, and some relationships are able to rebalance. You're able to start standing up for yourself and asking for what you need. and other relationships that can't change or the change would be too painful. And I would suggest to you that you consider, if you have any relationships like that you consider maybe letting go of that relationship. Even if it's just for a while, like even if you say, I'm going to back off for 3 months, I'm not going to engage with this person for 3 months and take care of myself for a while. I'm not going to give and give and give and give. And just for 3 months, I'm going to just reset. And then you can check in with yourself and decide if you would want to pick up that relationship again. Okay. So, speaking of childhood, and what messages you get, other reasons why you may not be able to receive are because you don't think you deserve it, or it's seen as a weakness. We talked about that a little bit earlier. And I especially feel for the men in our society, in our culture, where they're not often given any kind of emotional feedback or validation. But it happens to all of us where I just happened, my grandson fell the yesterday, and the immediate reaction by the parent is, you're okay, you're okay. And I was like, oh, that was scary, wasn't it? Does anything hurt? And he had hurt his lip, but because they're so focused on telling him, you're okay, you're fine, just to kind of and it's meant to be a comfort, but it's not. It's an invalidation of the feelings and the event that happened. So, and if he was older, he may even be kind of, what's the right word? Can't think of the right word, but basically told, oh, stop crying, stop being a baby, kind of thing. And then they're not allowed at all to just say, oh, that scared the bejesus out of me, and man, my lip hurts. And they just have to buck up. So many times receiving, especially emotionally, is seen as a weakness. And I think for women, it's seen as a weakness because, in large part, because we are so looked on to be the resource, to be the strength, to be the one to get things done, to be the ones to not have needs, So especially for both men and women, it's seen as a weakness to want to receive. And yeah, there's so much going on around right now about self-care, self-care, and that is about receiving. It is about allowing yourself to receive, about even from yourself, taking a moment of time to recenter yourself, or to breathe deeply, or to do something you enjoy. That's what self-care is, and that's what receiving is. But it just could be when you do your self-care, it would be good to even talk about, I am receiving this. I am open to receiving the vitality, the replenishment, the refreshment that I need and deserve and want. Okay, so I'm going to go off on that, so I better not. Let's keep going. Sometimes we don't ask for what we need to be able to receive what we need, because we think people won't be able to help us. And that is a belief that we just need to question. Or we'll think that no one will help us, or that we're imposing on somebody. But like I talked about earlier, people love to give. In fact, let's see, even at work, people love to help. And when people ask for help, 70 to 90% of them get the help they ask for in the workplace, which is, to me, a lot of times like one of the least personal places is in like a corporate type job. And so this is a study that was done that I'm looking at. And also when you ask for your help, believe it or not, people think that you're more competent because it shows that you're not, that you, the thinking process, you're doing critical thinking. You know what you don't know, and you're asking for the information, the resources, the referrals, the whatever you're asking. And that actually makes people think you're more capable than if you just try to DIY it and not ask for help. Isn't that interesting? I kind of didn't think that that would be true, but it's a big percentage of people. Um, People will think you, it was a team by Wharton and Harvard found that people will think you are more competent, not less. And it's just partially if you make a thoughtful and intelligent request, that's sort of how you ask for it. But still, um, so it just shows that when a problem, when a problem can be solved more effectively and quickly by asking for help. So again, if you're thinking that um, asking for help, people aren't going to understand your request, they're not going to be able to help, etc. And another study found by Frank Flynn showed that even strangers are quite willing and able to help, and we typically underestimate others' ability and willingness to help us. Okay, so let me just go through really quick and make sure that I covered all the. Okay, so we're all aware, and we may all be overly generous givers. And they help others, they in part because they love to help others, it makes them feel good. In some ways, it's often a it has what's that called, selfish reasons for doing something. So we it's when you are giving that you feel, I'm a generous person, look at me, I'm, you're kind of managing yourself, your image and your self-image. And so you you get to be well regarded because you're generous. And the thing is also receiving does not make you less well regarded. And like I said earlier, it makes you more well regarded. Being able to ask for and accept help actually makes people like you more, want to be around you more, want to help you more, want to connect with you more. And if you're not able to kind of get the resources that you need, you're more likely to burn out, you're more likely to be grumpy, you're more likely to get angry, and and then you're creating distance between you and other people. So I kind of did this whole big long circle kind of thing. So let me stop and ask, what do you guys have questions on, or what do you want to talk about more? Do you have any comments? Okay. So would you like to do some tapping on the ability to receive? Okay. So Michelle, I don't know if you've done tapping. I know Laura, Vanessa, and Amy have all done tapping. It's EFT tapping. So it's easy enough to follow along. And for anyone watching the recording, I'll just talk about it just really briefly. Yeah, EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's also called tapping because we literally tap on meridian points on our bodies. And it's a magical way, this is an awesome way of supporting ourselves through um, eliminating underlying beliefs that don't support us, and unhooking the emotional triggers that we have to beliefs and to events and experiences that we've had in our past. So just Michelle, if you want to just kind of watch this right now, I know you're at work, but you can always watch the recording later if you want to then do the tapping on yourself. And so let's start. So just follow along with me. Let me walk through the tapping points really quick first. We always start with tapping on the side of our hand underneath the little finger. And this is when we do our setup statement, which is always even though. You talk about your problem, and then you do kind of a wrap up of basically acknowledging that this is how you feel right now. From there, we go to the top of the head, and you can tap with either hand, it doesn't matter. Top of the head, top of the eye, which is on the eyebrow, just next to the nose, the side of the eye on the bone there, under the eye, under the nose, crease of the chin, just below the collarbone point where there's a nice little soft spot. And then I like using the bottom of the ribs and under the arm, just like 3 or 4 inches below your armpit. Top of the wrist, just below the joint with the hand. Bottom of the wrist. And then we start at the top of the head again. Okay. So while we're tapping, we're going to be saying things out loud about this issue that we have. Bless you, Vanessa. And so is there anything in particular around receiving that you guys would want to tap on? Is there anything that I talked about that especially resonated with you that you'd want to make sure that we cover?
I just, when you talked about that, when somebody gives me a compliment, I immediately get red in the face and shut down, and it's just like very uncomfortable. So what would you call that? Just everything you talked about.
Yeah.
Thank you, Laura. Too, the giving for being in control. And I always, I live by treat others the way you want to be treated, right? If I was going to do something for, I would think this is what I would want someone to do for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and do it for somebody, and so that's just kind of how I've always lived. But I totally resonated with the accepting of receiving, being opening up, being vulnerable. That's not something I feel comfortable with sometimes. I could definitely, that control piece is really, and then not only that, but like feeling off balance in certain relationships. I've been feeling like being able to let go because you're not receiving what you want, maybe, or maybe you're not being communicative about what you want, maybe, but to me, I don't even like to communicate about what I want to receive. So that's like on me too. So anyway. So I really can't blame anyone for that because I don't say anything.
I love you, Vanessa.
You should know. You should just know.
Yeah, you should just know this is what I need.
Yeah.
For me, Lisa, it's feeling worthy and deserving. I mean, there's a part of me that knows that I'm good at what I do, and I do really give a lot of value to my clients. And at the same time, it's, if I was working for a company, it would be different because I would be accepting money on their behalf, but it's accepting money for me, for my particular skills. It just feels harder. It feels like there's a disparity between what I give and how deserving I am.
That's a really good point, Amy. And it was really hard for me when we had to raise our prices at one point. I just felt like, yeah. So
I could totally see how people like in your industries would feel that way. I would feel that same way. Unfortunately, I'm not in that same boat, but I wish I could charge for what I have. But yeah, that's not how it works.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you guys. I so appreciate that. All right. So just settle into your chairs and we'll do a round of tapping and then we'll check in and then we'll do more if we want. So, but first, okay, let's get our, what's called a SUDS level or intensity level. So just think about when you think of receiving and the resistance or yucky feeling that comes up for you, just write down or think of a number 0 to 10, with 0 being no intensity and 10 being highly intense. I'm gonna write my own down too. In case you didn't know, that the topic came up because a couple months ago I was laying in bed, and I think I was doing some self Reiki and around my second chakra, and I just thought wow, I am so closed down from receiving in that particular area. I just have so many boundaries and protection around that, and that's not going to help me build a business in any way, shape, or form. I need to really open up and know and let people know that I'm open and willing to receive what they're willing to give me. So that's how come this is the topic this month for my webinar. Okay, let's get started. And I'll say it and then just repeat after me. But if you have different words that resonate with you more, use your words. Okay? So even though I'm uncomfortable receiving, even just a compliment, I deeply love and completely accept myself. And even though I know logically that I am deserving of receiving all the good in the world, my heart and my body doesn't know it. And I'm open to a new way of thinking about this. And even though I'm comfortable with the vulnerability receiving creates, I'm open to feeling safe and comfortable in my body when I receive. Let's go to the top of the head. I don't even like getting compliments. Top of the eye. I shut down. Side of the eye. I don't even know how to handle it. Under the eye. And it's just a compliment. Under the nose. It's just somebody telling me their opinion. On the chin. But I don't know what to do with it. Collarbone. How am I supposed to react? On the bottom of the ribs. What do they want from me? Under the arm. Why are they complimenting me? Others, why do they want to give something to me? Bottom of the wrist. I don't understand. I like to treat others how I would like to be treated. Top of the eye. So I give lots of compliments. Side of the eye. I give and give in my work. Under the eye and in my relationships. Under that nose. That I forget that I'm deserving of receiving also. On the chin. I forget to treat myself the way I want to be treated. On the collarbone. It's just so vulnerable to receive. Bottom of the ribs. I have to be open to connecting. Under the arm. It's a moment of intimacy. My heart isn't always open for that. bottom of the wrist. It's scary. Top of the head. I haven't always felt safe when I'm being intimate or vulnerable. Top of the eye. So I'd rather keep myself safe. Side of the eye. I'd rather, sorry, I'm trying to see what the chat says in case I missed something, but I can't do it. Okay, I'm good. I protect myself by putting up barriers to receiving. Under the eye, by not even communicating what I would like to receive. Feels like I shouldn't even have to tell people what I want to receive. Chin. It's easier just to keep it to myself. Safer. On the collarbone. I don't always feel worthy or deserving of getting what I getting what I want. Bottom of the ribs. And by not telling people what I want, it hides my disappointment when I don't get it. Under the arm, it protects me from being disappointed. The wrist. Feeling deserving of what I want. That's it. What I'm thinking of, it's a very deep subject. It goes to like the depth of who we think we are. And part of the reason I think that I'm not deserving, top of the head, is because I've been disappointed in the past from people who were unable to give me what I wanted. Top of the eye. And because I give other people the kind of the control of meeting my needs. Side of the eye. I forget that when I state what I want, under the eye, when one person doesn't give me that, or when one person or one experience doesn't give me what I want, under the nose, there are many other ways to get that need met. Temporarily not getting what I want or need doesn't mean I'll never get it. And it's still up to me to make it happen. I get to create the circumstances to get what I want. Bottom of the ribs. I do love giving. I love giving through my work. I love giving through my time and my money. I love giving through my the joy I have or the fun that I am when I'm around people. So many ways that I give. Under the arm. And I see this all coming back to me. I want to open to being completely available to everything that's coming back to me. Because that's what energy does. Energy circulates. Here we go. Energy circulates. And when I'm open to receiving, it creates more good in the world. It makes other people feel good. It makes me feel good. I am open to receiving. Let's just stop there and check in. And what's your number now on 0 to 10 when you think about receiving? And if there you still have something, what if someone would be willing to mute and tell me what the new number is, and then kind of like what's still there?
I'll share. I feel like for the first time I'm actually open to it consciously after you talking about it and then after tapping through it. And the other thing is I just feel amazing every time I tap. So
I know, right?
but it made me very aware, and I feel like that's in me now, that awareness of what I haven't been receiving and the uncomfortable part and everything you talked about. So thank you. It was really good.
Good. Okay, good.
It occurred to me while we were tapping that that in my business in particular, and receiving in my business, it would be helpful to embrace a bit of arrogance, which has always been uncomfortable for me, but embrace a bit of arrogance and to feel so that I could actually feel worthy and deserving of and bringing it in. I mean, without, I don't know, there's such a thing as humble arrogance, but that's the balance I feel like I want to strive for, so that it doesn't come off as being cocky, because that doesn't feel good either. But just an awareness and projecting that awareness that I am good at what I do. I can help. I do add value, and all of those things, all the things. I just need to like embrace that.
Yeah.
Doesn't that mean like confidence too? I mean, that's what makes you appear more confident. It's not arrogant in any way. I think it's just that you.
I think the word arrogance is kind of the shadow word of confidence, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Worthy.
It's a knowing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a knowing.
Yeah.
Knowing in your heart. And I think when you have that knowing in your heart, even if you have trolls, even if someone doesn't get you, even whatever, that's okay, because you know, and nothing else can knock you out of your knowing when you have that humble arrogance of knowing.
Yeah.
So I while I was tapping, I was trying to get to that point. Hopefully it was understandable when we were talking about someone if we put out what we want, or we're working away and there's stuff coming towards us to receive. It's actually not out there that we receive from. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So it may seem like we receive everything we receive from out there, from other people, from other businesses, from whatever. It never is. It's always within, because it's always what we make of it. It's always whether we accept it. It's always response to it. So try to think of an example. Well, we just did an example, but we'll do it in terms of a compliment. Let's say we get ourselves, like I'm wearing my new necklace that I got. It's a late birthday present. And, I could have other people say, "Oh, what a pretty necklace." Like, thanks, my friend gave it to me. Or I could have someone say, "That's good, necklace." And I could go, "Oh, really?" Or I could go, "I know, isn't it amazing?" So the response is always going to be within me, and how I take it and how I want to receive it. And it's just like if we got a troll on Facebook. A lot of times my initial reaction after the FU reaction is that poor person, to live that way, to live knowing that way. But it's up to me to receive like how they are putting out what they're putting out. So I guess I was getting to that, trying to get to that place of we create our world by how we believe and by what we believe we see. That's what we see in the world. And that's how we can receive or not receive.
It'd be easier to say that, well, you're not giving me what I deserve or whatever, but really receiving is an inside job. Like you have to not only know that you're worthy and deserving of it, but you have to be open to receiving it. And, it really is an inside job. Like it all happens inside. When you're open to it, then it comes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've felt this way in the last several months when I finally realized I had social anxiety disorder, and I was able, just by knowing it and then doing some work on it, I was able to overcome it. And honestly, because social anxiety disorder is a fear of being judged. And so I was always so busy protecting myself from being judged or feeling constantly like I was being judged, even when I wasn't, that I couldn't take in new information, couldn't even needing to do something on the computer that I didn't know how to do, I would shut down very quickly. And now, open and able to say, "Oh, I wonder how I can do that." I'm so much more able to take in information, new ideas, um, opportunities and possibilities, so much more open, just because I've been able to shift out of protection from being judged, protection from being judged, protection from being judged. And that's how we open ourselves to receiving, is letting go of all the beliefs and the expectations that we got from childhood and from experiences that we've had, and knowing, like Amy was saying, knowing that we're worthy and deserving. So any last little comments or thoughts or needs? I still, for some reason, can't see the chat, but I'm going to pull it up. Make sure I can now. There we go.
Well, that was awesome, Lisa. I'm really happy that you chose this topic.
Yeah, me too. No, it was great. And I'm actually having to go out of the house for the first time in days, and I'm freaking out. So
just stay open.
What's freaking you out, Laura?
I'm going to work this afternoon, and I haven't seen clients in like 4 or 5 days. And it's like you talk about the anxiety and all that. Yeah, I've been hibernating, and so thank you. I think I don't know what I would have done without this. So thank you.
Well, and I think it's a great way to start the new year. Let's make it our year of receiving. Yeah. Thank you so much for coming, you guys. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and I'll send out the recording. Okay. Glad you got a lot out of it. So thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.